You saw the title of the video. I'm not gonna build anything up, let's get into it. We'll start with the most important clarification in my opinion. It has come to my attention that Crimson did not in fact DM my friend about the situation surrounding Shadow's server. It was a misunderstanding on our part, and we realized that someone, presumably GoToIt, responded to a comment of his on my channel. Either way, after a mediation with the two of them, as well as a third mod who will not be named for privacy reasons, we ultimately discovered that no one DM'd my friend. However, this is not a license to attack him. If I see anyone attack my friend or Crimson over this misunderstanding, I'll light your ass up like I always have. Now for the other clarifications. In my apology video, I alluded to the likelihood that ableism was an extreme way of describing the "it's not my problem" comment. While I still believed it to be insensitive at the time, I will go ahead and acknowledge that exaggeration. I also understand that he did not know about my shaky hands condition when he made that comment. I believe I mentioned this in the apology video, but I'm saying it now as a way to finalize the end of this situation. Whether he thought I was making excuses or not, I'm not entirely sure at this time, and honestly I don't think it matters at this point. But I want to be super clear. Ableist or not, insensitive or not, statements like this will rub me the wrong way depending on the context and based on how it's said. That's right, I'm a "it's not what you said, it's the way you said it" kind of person, and I don't care. Why am I like this? I don't know, but it's not something I feel I should have to change just to appease people I don't know and, in many cases, will never see again. However, I am willing to acknowledge that both Crimson and Morabito probably didn't say these things with malicious intent. As far as GoToIt is concerned, there was a lot of dumb back and forth between us, and it got to a point where I ultimately decided I didn't like him that much, but I respected him enough to keep things cordial until I was sent over the edge. As far as him interrupting me and people thinking that I was being ridiculous by saying that, Crimson acknowledged that it is possible to interrupt people through text, something GoToIt seemed to wholeheartedly disagree with for whatever reason. He got mad when I told him he was twisting my words and making baseless assumptions giving my statements. Unfortunately for him, I stand by this 100%. That may be an a-hole thing to assume, but I know when someone's putting words in my mouth, and I don't appreciate that. When it comes to the joke I was referring to here and there, they were a few times where I would comment on a Yu-Gi-Oh related situation or some other situation that I wasn't there for, and I would get corrected. This wasn't the problem was him repeatedly making a joke about me, missing the context. Now, I like to think that I am capable of taking a joke, but all jokes get old after a while. There's no denying that. I did find it funny enough to not say anything about it, but after the first few days or weeks of it had gone by, it started to seem less like a joke and more like an attack to my intelligence. I thought I had made it clear that I was getting sick of the joke, but it seems the message was not made clear enough. Had I said something like, "The joke is getting old, can we stop please," that might have prevented most of this. Though in hindsight, I believe that I showed enough signs of being annoyed for someone to get the message, but neither he nor anyone else involved get it. This is not me placing blame on anyone, this is me providing clarification, or as some people would say, including context that I, intentionally, left out of my original call-out video. We'll come back to this in a bit. At some point during the tier lament discussion, which the unnamed mod chose to take full responsibility for, something I can appreciate, I simply decided that I didn't care if they were mods or not. I was offended by how they talked to me due to my perception of their comments, and I proceeded to lash out at them. I still believe my anger was justified, but I acknowledge that I was the first one to use swear words, something that bothered them more than I thought it would. Both Crimson and GoToIt told me that within that server they have jokes that eventually become part of the person's identity. To be honest, I don't think I like this mentality. I know a mod who got mistaken for a guy at one point and everyone started making jokes about the situation. She found it funny at first, but then she got really upset after a while because the joke itself was insensitive and getting old at that point. So while I understand that they think it's all in good fun, I would hope they understand that not everyone feels that way. In the original video, in the apology video, I stated that I felt as though the mods had used their position to avoid accountability and get away with ganging up on me. Going back to me cussing out someone who's a mod, I'm gonna say this. I've been calling people out on troll-like behavior since 2019. If a mod doesn't something that makes me feel uncomfortable or disrespected, or makes me think that they're abusing their status as a mod, I don't think I should show restraint simply because they are a mod. And if I acted that way, I don't expect people to do that for me. Crimson felt that I was saying it's only a problem when I think it's a problem, but that's not true. Accountability isn't the same as persecution. It needs to be reciprocal. If I genuinely end up doing something really wrong, then I would deserve to get cussed out as well. If you have valid reasons otherwise, I will back off. If not, then you deserve to be called out. This applies to me. I feel like I had valid reasons and nothing I did was banworthy, but that actually brings me to my next point. Shadow felt as though I had threatened the server by saying I was going to make my call-out video if nothing was done about Morabito, who at this point, I'd be down with accepting the fact that my beef wasn't with him until his condescending DMs, if not for the fact that I was just mad at everyone involved in general. That's part of why Crimson Go To It and Shadow got lumped into this. Based on the actual content of my original video, I can see why Shadow thought I was threatening the server, but really, I wasn't threatening anyone. I never said I would hurt anyone with physical violence or target anyone they know, but obviously threats can come in many forms. The point is, I believed this statement to be mainly directed towards Morabito, Go To It and Crimson, but because Shadow ultimately ended up taking their side without even giving me a chance to explain the situation in DMs, I believed him and the rest of the mod team to be biased. With how quick to anger he was despite not being involved, I don't even know if DMing him about any of my concerns with the server would have actually been taken seriously. I just can't bring myself to believe that as I made different choices, he wouldn't have reacted in a way I didn't agree with. And as for that screenshot about his deck list, that was just me trolling, trying to get a reaction from people who kept constantly defending the mod team, whether it be mods themselves or random fans of Shadow who claimed I left out information. Which, by the way, it seems like the main pieces of information I left out were the parts where I cussed at them after I had had enough of their behavior. Again, I didn't know it was going to upset them that much. For the most part, Crimson agreed that I had the right to be upset up until that point because no one has cussed at me, but again, I don't show restraint when I'm pissed. There's something else I didn't like either. Didn't bring it up at all, but it needs to be said. They're constant talking about, not sugarcoating, anything, as if that makes their points any more true. I understand that they were just saying that they felt strongly about their opinions and didn't see the point in mincing words, but saying that at least 5 times in the span of 10 minutes just seems condescending. Probably a minor nitpick in the grand scheme of things, but it empathizes the point of this video. This is not an apology, as despite everything that happened, I feel justified in most of my actions and my rage. This is a clarification video where I admit to some minor misconceptions and miscommunications. Other than that, I truly don't believe anything I did was banworthy, but by now, it's been at least 24 hours since the incident, and none of us are any closer to moving on. So to summarize everything, I got offended by something that they probably meant no offense by, but I believe some of them are choosing not to care why I got offended. I did lash out at them, but not unprovoked. I wholeheartedly believe I had my reasons for lashing out and they didn't. I may or may not have failed to mention Crimson and Morabito's attempts to sympathize with my condition. I posted their public social media links on my channel to warn others to avoid them. I deleted the comments of people who I thought weren't adding anything of value to the discussion or just going out of their way to either disrespect my point of view or harp on the whole, leaving out information thing, like VF Yu-Gi-Oh and Windows Simp. Sorry for thinking you were a chick, by the way, that was a genuine L on my part. I can admit to these things, but at the end of the day I don't regret anything. Defending myself when I feel wrong will always take priority over being civil with people I don't like. Again, this is not an apology or an admission that I deserve to be banned. If you were hoping that I would just drop everything and take the original video down, I'm afraid that's not gonna happen. I stand by my outrage, even if it was exaggerated to an extent. I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I'm not sorry for some of the things I did do. But I will say, I am sorry that it had to be this way. I am sorry that it's come to this. And I am sorry that my approach to this situation upset those involved. Now then, it is time to make one final statement. Crimson, the unnamed mod, my friend, and I have reached a compromise. Seeing that a lot of this comes down to a difference of opinion regarding several subjects, I'm never gonna admit that I was completely in the wrong, and I don't expect anyone involved to do the same. We have decided that the best way for all of us to move on is to not mention each other, or this situation, in any public capacity. I won't take down the original video or the post of the screenshots containing my conversation with Go To It, as those contain some of the context they thought was relevant to all of this. I will take down my misleading post about Crimson contacting my friend as well as all other posts that do not serve the purpose of providing context to the story. After that, I'm expecting no further mention of this from anyone involved. I too will keep this to myself. This video was actually part of that agreement, so I'm already holding up my end of the deal. Crimson has assured me that he will do his part to hold up their end of the deal. However, if this situation sparks up again after this video drops, I believe I should reserve the right to call out that individual however I see fit, as by that point, all parties have chosen to go their separate ways. Such is life. We'll never agree on what could be done differently by whom, so we might as well put the situation to bed before one of us says or does something they can't take back right. As for Murabito, GoToIt, and Shadow, those three will remain blocked on every social media platform we share. Regardless of what happened, I simply don't like them as people. Have a nice life.